Greetings. Our Frederick Riddle here with another episode of Christian News and Views. This is episode 276, and this is Monday. Well, America's top diplomat struck a relentlessly upbeat tone in Geneva after a roller coaster day of intensive negotiations aimed at convincing a skeptical Ukraine to accept the latest U.S. proposals to end Russia's brutal war. Um, it says here, I feel very optimistic that we can get something done here because we made a tremendous amount of progress, said the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He was talking to, I believe it was CNN. So this is like any of your more liberal places. You don't always get all the facts, but try. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to give you my own opinion. The proposal for Ukraine to surrender key territories in the Donbas area of eastern Ukraine, for example, that Russia has annexed but not captured, has been a long-standing red line for Kiev, not least because the area includes the fortress belt of heavily defended towns and cities seen as essential to Ukrainian security. The U.S. proposal, seen by CNN, there you are, suggests the area becomes a Russian demilitarized zone, which the Kremlin's military forces would agree not to enter. But ordering the Ukrainian military to hand over land that its troops have fought and died to keep would be a hard sell. Same, too, the proposed limitation on Ukraine's armed forces. Although set at a maximum of 600,000 strong in the U.S. plan, European officials say they fear it would leave the country vulnerable to future attack. But Washington, seemingly even more determined to force through a peace deal, has made it clear it expects Ukraine to comply, threatening to withdraw U.S. military support for Kiev and to essentially abandon the Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, in the words of President Trump, to fight his little heart out. So here's my opinion on this whole thing. While I hope President Trump can bring this war to a conclusion, a successful conclusion, I just fear he is making some fatal miscalculations. First of all, he is assuming that the United States can force Ukraine to comply. But this seems to, in my opinion, to treat Ukraine more as a dependent state than as a sovereign nation. Secondly, the United States is indeed the most powerful partner in this whole thing. But Europe, when taken as a whole, it's not very far behind. And their own, this is far more important than their how powerful they are, their own security is at risk. They're up close. They can see Russia. They have a history with him, a closer history than we have ever experienced. A third problem is that the proposed treaty is nothing more than giving Russia what it hasn't been able to achieve in almost 4 years of fighting. So I am pleased that serious negotiating is taking place. This is not like Israel, where the United States can bring military power to bear. Ukraine is tied closely to the United States, but its very existence is more dependent on its neighboring states or countries. Moreover, these countries see Russia up close, as I mentioned before, and have a history with Putin that he will never be satisfied with something like this. Eventually, any treaty he signs will be tossed into the garbage can whenever he decides to do so. History has demonstrated this. And there's already a peace treaty in place that he's thrown into the trash can. It's decades old, and it was supposed to guarantee the security and safety of Ukraine. But when the time came, he attacked. I agree with President Trump, this war should never have taken place, but it's not the fault of the Ukrainians. They are an independent country. They were independent before the Soviet Union, and they've been independent since. Actually, they have a very mixed history. They've been independent at times and then under the rule of other countries at other times. But the Soviet Union haven't had them for a good amount of time, but I don't think it was the longest time. But they're the most recent. And so when the Soviet Union fell apart, Ukraine became one of many, by the way, countries that became free. Poland and some and other countries uh, were part of the Soviet Union. If they can go back and reclaim Ukraine, then Poland is on their list, and so are these other countries. And they can't risk trusting that the United States or anybody else is going to come to their aid, especially if we back off on Ukraine. In addition to all this, President Zelensky's career could be over if he agrees to the current plan. He'd be out as president, and anything he agreed to would be off the table. Too many people, too many men and women, and even children for that matter, have lost their lives. Too many have invested everything they have in this war, including their lives, for the nation to accept such a deal. It is just simply not, in my opinion, it's not practical. Uh, it's it's something that, when you look at it, it's a win-win for Russia. Uh, Ukraine doesn't get much out of this. The United States is shifting its focus from Europe over to Pacific. This is where my research has shown me. And if that is true, then how much can Ukraine or the rest of Europe count on the United States? We are locked into NATO, but that doesn't mean he could find a way to get out of that. And that's another thing to bring up. President Trump can guarantee what's going to happen while he is president. He cannot guarantee what's going to happen after he leaves the presidency. And so any treaty that he signs or agrees to has to be approved, of course, by the Senate. And on top of that, once he's out of office, the new president, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, may find it convenient to change things around a little and may back off altogether. So there's some limitations as to what he can and cannot do. I still think he can pull things off. And I still think that in the end, he's going to force Putin to back down. He's trying to avoid that, but I think eventually it has to come to either Putin backs down or Trump backs down. My money's on Trump, but at the same time, he's got to be reasonable. If he expects the Ukraine to accept the proposal, which is, I think the deadline is this Thursday, I can't see them doing it. Not expect to do that and expect to survive. And I think the other countries surrounding them will actually step up and say, if the United States backs out, we will provide the difference. How well they can do that, I don't know. They have already stepped up a bit, and they may have to step up more. But their own security is at risk. And so that will motivate them. Well, that's it for today. I hope this has been informative, encouraging, and inspirational. One of the three. I always try to do that. I also want to mention that this whole podcast is brought to you by TNR Independent Books. We offer services such as the sales services that, by the way, are going to be on big sale coming Thanksgiving Day, and it's a 5-day sale that we call it the Black Friday Thanksgiving sale. The 5-day Black Friday Thanksgiving sale goes from Thursday, all the way through Monday, up to 50% off of services, and the products are also included in this. It may range as to the percent, but it can be up to 50%. It's a good deal, folks. Check it out. Well, you have a great day. Oh, by the way, if you don't see in the print here, there should be, but you can reach us at TR dash independent. No, wait a minute. TR dash bookservices.com. That's the best way to go. TR dash bookservices.com. And there you will find us and go to our bookstore, and you can take advantage of that sale. It begins on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. Well, you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode.